Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. Just one of two shows this week, as we're going to be taking Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and in Canada, we call the 26th Boxing Day. We're going to be taking those days off, so you just have us for a couple of nights before you have to relax, but you never know. I might pop on. I don't know. My name is Dave Scott, and we have one of my favorite people on the show tonight. Barry Littleton is here. He is literally the master of so many different topics here on this show, from time travel to paranormal to UFOs to portals, Mandela effect, you name it. Barry has it in his paranormal arsenal to shoot off to us, and it's going to be absolutely great tonight. Hey, before we bring Barry back on, let us say hello to each and every one of you, including Kitty Caddywhack in the gold medal position, Race Fan with a silver, and Tim Mothman and his goatee sharing a bronze medal tonight. And scrolling on down, we say hello to Paramarv. How you doing, buddy? Yes. He says, I love Barry as a guest. Please try to make him laugh a lot, Dave, because Barry has the best laugh on the internet. I would agree with you. I would vote you in on that one, Paramarv. I would vote with you. Jerence Carter is here. Jerence Carter will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Chris, 14210, how are you? Necessary Dialogue, how's it going as we continue on with our roll call? Well, there's Jerry Lehane. It's been a while. Nice to have you back. As we scroll on down, Walter Kochabinski, Signs of Life. Mama Catherine, there she is. Mwah, I love you, Mama Catherine. I hope you're having a great night. Maybe you're wrapping some presents as you listen in, and I hope you get just all ready and you're all ready for Christmas. I love you, my dear. I really, 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 really love you. I do. She's awesome. Mama Catherine just makes me smile. Oh, God, I love her. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, how are you? Make that eternity eternal. And Cosmic Joe. Les Paul Holland, how you doing, my friend? Am I alive tomorrow? Give me an update if you don't mind. I'd appreciate that. Scrolling on down, there's Bigfoot Michigan Rob. You know what, Bigfoot Michigan Rob? I got my bad data right here waiting for you for tomorrow. Yeah, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, our guest for tomorrow night. Scrolling on down, Benno, how you doing? Operation Shutdown. Mel WD-40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show, because Barry literally said, Dave, I'm not doing the show unless Mel lubes me up. I got to feel good. I got to feel lubed. I need to slide into this show just perfectly. So Mel is lubing up Barry as we speak. Scrolling on down, hello, Candace. Hello, Julie Rios. Hello, Flat Six and AJ. How you doing, my friend? Laura Elizabeth is here. Laura Elizabeth will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Algaray on Twitch, preparing for Barry with 4,000 jumping jacks in 7.26 minutes. 7 minutes, 26 seconds. Guy was flying. Aussie Boss Tiger, how are you? Kitty Caddywhack, thank you for kicking off this super chat tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you, Kitty. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Truth Seeker. How are you, Jay Truth Seeker? In the studio, Gary J, Blue Skies. Nice to have you all here. East Coast Turnaround on X and Millennium, my man. How you guys doing? Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we have a great guest. We're going to get into the weird stories of 2025. Barry Littleton is here. There's nobody who will know it better than good Barry here, and we're going to bring him on momentarily. We are in roll call on our YouTube side right now. And Donna C., love you. Thank you for that wonderful super chat. Really appreciate your love, Donna. Thank you very, very much. As we scroll on down, I'm hardcore on X. Michelle, how are you, Michelle? Nice to see you. And who is next? Let's see here. Well, we just jumped down. I don't know why, but we did. Hey, everybody, it's that time. Throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin knows. We're together. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have an amazing show for you tonight. We're going to look back at some weird stories of 2025, get into a little time travel, and much more. One of the top guests in this field, Barry Littleton, is with us tonight. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will be here for a spooky story. We're going to follow that up with the wizard, Josh Rutledge, coming in for the UFO report. So with Barry up on deck, let's rig him on in. Barry Littleton is widely recognized as one of the most authentic and compelling experiencer researchers in the UFO, cryptid, and paranormal field. Born with heightened sensitivity and a unique perceptual ability, Barry began having verified encounters with non-human beings at a young age, events that shaped his lifelong mission to understand the true nature of contact, consciousness, and interdimensional intelligence. Drawing from over 3 decades of research, Barry specializes in the overlap between UFOs, cryptids, and astral encounters, and what he calls dimensional bleed-through events. His investigations go beyond conventional fieldwork, incorporating meditation-based contact methods, remote viewing principles, and the study of energy imprints at haunted and anomalous locations. In my opinion, I'm just going to cut his bio right there because I just have to say this. In my opinion, Barry Littleton is a gem for this community. He is a multiple experiencer. He's trying, like many, to try and put glue together on every phenomena that we know of to try and make sense. What is that hidden thread that ties it all together? He has a YouTube channel, Barry Littleton. Make sure you go hit subscribe. Barry Littleton, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and New Year to you, my friend. It is always a pleasure and a blessing to have you on Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, greetings, Dave. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it, man. Been a little under the weather with the cold, so I might be clearing my throat, sound a little congested, so forgive me. But thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here, and I think I could probably never live up to that introduction. You know, I never thought when I came forward about, that's been 12 years ago almost now, that it would ever go this far for me as far as speaking out publicly and still talking about this stuff. So very blessed to be here. I appreciate you. And hello
Very,
to the audience too. I saw a lot of comments over there. I'm a little blown away. So thank you all.
you were one of the, in my opinion, one of the most respective multiple experiencers out there. Most multiple experiencers take a lot of heat. They take a lot of heat because there's a lot of skeptics and critics out there who will say, oh man, none of this stuff is happening to just one person. You know, I've taken it. I've experienced cryptids. I've experienced paranormal. I've experienced UFOs and aliens as well. But for a lot of people, they don't understand that there are multiple experiencers, because when the phenomena kicks you in the butt hard, it gives you everything. How have you been able to really keep this amazing reputation as a multiple experiencer?
Oh, well, thanks, Dave. I don't know. I'm not Generation X. I tell somebody to suck it pretty easy. So I don't know. I'm not that great. But, I think part of it is us understanding that, like for years, it felt like all this stuff was happening to me, but it felt like I was chasing after the knowledge and trying to figure it out and doing research and all these different things, when in reality, it was chasing me. You know what I mean? And that way, it's almost like a destiny type of thing. And by no means special. I mean, I'm just before I even came forward, I always said I thought there was like somewhere between 70 and 80% of our population that were contactees. And, but I could never prove that because it happens so subliminally sometimes and subconsciously and so quick on a different frequency that it's hard for a lot of us to remember it, retention of memory. How many of us really remember our dreams, or you see a UFO out there and just for a second or two, you don't think that an entire collective like Federation or whatever could be stopping what they're doing just to individually communicate with you. And that's exactly what's happening. And I think that's this real change in consciousness that we're going through right now. Anyway, that's what helped me a lot. And just trying to understand the experiences as much as I could, knowing that it was chasing me. And it's so weird because I was, I always said I would come forward one day and stuff, but man, Dave, that was just talk. I wasn't really going to do it. And I had this car accident that I kind of died in, and it changed my life as far as NDE and my perspective on spirituality. It advanced it and some other things that made me just really want to go forward. And it winds up me sitting here with you, if that makes any sense. Sorry, I don't want to go off. I go out. I don't want to zigzag on you.
Hey, we've already had a request from our audience on YouTube to make sure we make you laugh, because you have just the most infectious laugh ever. So thank you for that. I want to ask you about your near-death experience. What happened there? What did you see?
For starters, I had wasn't wearing my seatbelt with my very high IQ, and I was driving this Trans Am, and I went through a lot of the windows in there, including the T-tops. So I sustained 4 catastrophic traumatic brain injuries. And it was a hematoma to the frontal lobe, hematoma to the brain stem, hematoma to the quarter lobe, and what's called DFA, diffusal axonal, which is similar to shaken baby syndrome. Means upon impact, my brain turned in the case also. And that's what was killing me, was the swelling. So they incubated me, then resuscitated me, and it brought me back. The two times they did it. So something happened, when I had, put it to you like this. When I woke up, I was in a coma for about a little over 2 weeks. And when I woke up, it took me about 2.5, 3 weeks to remember who I was. And when I say that, people would say, man, but I talked to you and it was still you. I came to see you. Don't you remember? I'd be like, no, I don't remember. It was a gifted performance by a good actor. Or scrambled eggs. But even during that, I could still see in my mind's eye these angelics. Okay. And you asked what I had seen. And when I use that word, I think sometimes the word angel is maybe kind of underscoring what I actually experienced. There's this book here. I've got issues with this book, this Uranta book. Okay. I've got issues with some things in the race part of the book and other things. We won't go into that, but I can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And when it comes to some descriptions of seraphim and different angelic orders, this book is quite interesting. And there's an order that they call Super Nanophim, Naphim, Super Nanophim. And there's some type of like what we would call archangel, but different. And Dave, I believe that's what I experienced. I remember 4 of them. And when I say they weren't corporeal, these were like, imagine hundreds of strands of light. And look, I'm a Star Trek fan, and it looked like outside of that the lights come to an end and what looked like shields to me. And I can see how some people might want to perceive those as being wings, I guess, if you use cognitive dissonance. But these weren't physical beings. They weren't in the shape of people exactly. Okay. But anyway, and outside of those shields looked like, you know, when you're driving on the road and you see the mirage of the water out there, and then when it disappears, you see the wavy heat lines. It looked like that existed outside the shields.
Oh, wow.
And when I tell you these beings, I felt so much love coming off them that I think they were toning it down or would have burned up my body. I don't think we can take that much pure creator love consciousness. I never felt anything like that. You know, for me, as a lifetime experiencer, when I remembered who I was, I had to put together with experiencing these beings and that type of love frequency versus the extraterrestrial / interdimensional, whatever these other things are, I've experienced also, that can kind of bliss you out if you're not careful. You get in the biofield of a non-human, if they're coming from kind of the divine field, it can kind of create what feels like a Kundalini release. You know, this kind of elation.
Yes.
And then it gets worse because of the further you get from the event horizon, the more fragmented the memories retention happens. So that makes it even more frustrating. And, you know, I used to think from my experiences, it was because, you know, we all go through that. Did they wipe my mind? You know, but what happened is the vibration is so different. That's what makes the retention of memory difficult, especially when you're not in the presence of some of these beings. You've just been in their biofield and they're gone. And you sit there, what the hell just happened? Man, I was talking to somebody and you still feel elated and you got the information, but what just, you know, I used to wonder if that was something that happened, that some of these beings had purposely perfected in their biofield that affects others and consciously, or if it's just a natural byproduct of higher vibration, higher frequency, more conscious evolution. Food for thought only, you know.
Now, did your experiences with the paranormal supernatural world start after that experience? Like many others, they have to have that experience to kind of kick them in the butt, or has this been going on your entire life?
My entire life. I had many childhood experiences that seemed to really escalate when I was 7 years old, to where it started getting really, really intense. And then at 12 years old, I had an experience that I knew what happened to me was not just my imagination. Sometimes I thought, well, I just got a really good imagination. I'm just burned out because I'm not sleeping good at night and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But that's not what it was. These were real events. Then that goes over into what I call adult onset experiences, which is when I was 17 and up. And that involved missing time with somebody else. It's one thing if I tell somebody, hey, I've been having this weird stuff happen to me my whole life. Nobody's gonna believe that. That's nutcase talk, man. But if you're out in a pond with me and all of a sudden one of these ships comes up and you're missing time and you can still see these beings and the technology and things and it's all tripped out, it's a different story. That type of delusion is not shared. You know what I mean?
No, I get you there. I really get you there. And
Yeah.
and you know, being a multiple experiencer, do you kind of have a sense, or I'm going to loosely use the word control, of what phenomena is going to happen next around you?
Well, that takes a lifetime of skill to perfect that, I think. You know, that's what Carlos Castaneda was going for, wasn't it? Total control like that. He could never get it, right? Don Juan and them would laugh at him. Something I want to throw out, the Spirit's telling me to mention this. Something that happened to me when I was 7 that I think has probably happened to some people in your audience is that I got attacked by an inorganic being, but it's really an earthbound spirit. A ghost attacked me and I think they do that sometimes as an attempt to discourage us from using our abilities, because every medium is a psychic, but every psychic is not a medium. They're different gifts. And mediumship wise, I didn't know what that was, but this thing came up and grabbed me from behind. It's what it felt like, a bear hug. And I know now it was trying to merge with me and it couldn't. So then the next thing was, get out, and kind of try to push me out of the house, making me very uncomfortable. You know what I mean? But I didn't know exactly what that was. We have these people that are somewhat horrible in life, do horrible, tragic things, traumatic things to others, and then they cross up, they die, and they don't cross over. They become something worse. You know what I mean? And they inhabit areas like that, houses like that. So I just want to throw that out, because if that happened to somebody in your audience, don't let that discourage you from using your abilities. Because it made me, I remember going back home. I was like, oh, please, God, take it away. Don't want to see, no. You know what I mean? So that type of a deal, and then trying to kind of block it out, so just wanted to throw that out anyway. But as far as controlling the experiences themselves, I had tried, especially when it came to the extraterrestrial component or whatever. They had told me later on, when I got older, they're communicating, saying that we were trying to get your attention all the time, but you weren't paying attention. You only paid attention to the spaceships. That's a part of us too. So we use that to communicate with you more. That part of us, and that's a point where my contact started changing from not being so much physically going on board these craft to being in telethought communication with them much more. I didn't understand that's what they were trying to do, influence in that way. I'm sorry, I had to have something stop my world for me really to pay attention. You know what I mean? Something where you just, whoa, oh man, there's no doubt you're tripping out. You know what I mean?
I hear you there, man. I totally hear you there. But do you ever get those people, Barry, that, when they say, man, you've had some of these things happen to you, like how, when they give you like the crooked eyebrow, kind of like, really? That happened to you too? Like, what hasn't happened to you? Do you ever get those people who just kind of like are just at the point where they're like, there's just no way this guy he's just telling stories here?
I really prefer to try to back up my experience with some type of hard science. It's not always possible, but sometimes it is, and that gives it a certain amount of verification there. But I probably experienced that the most when I describe the inner ship layout that I've experienced in a couple of craft. I seem to get a little bit more when it comes to that, because we don't all experience the same thing. But when you really take the concept of dealing with a craft that is not in the same dimension on the inside and outside, kind of a Doctor Who concept with transdimensionality. But that's reality. When you have these beings that are coming from different vibrations, different frequencies, different universes. I had to accept that, Dave. Some of them were coming from different universes. And, it's a whole nother thing going on inside the craft. Sometimes it's just enough for you and I to exist there. But I'll be getting sick and stuff and having this aphasia, temporal aphasia, they called it. But it's enough for them to exist. Some of them physically, some of them kind of phased out. But it's enough for us to meet in between there. But I can only speak from my experiences, but I don't believe that I or any person could survive on those ships long where I was at. Not that long anyway.
It's funny how the phenomena at times, as we got about 5 minutes to go already, flying on by here.
Wow.
Barry, it's amazing how the phenomena at times can play tricks on you. I recall, and I told this story recently again, I recall in 2024 where we were filming in the forest, or was it 2023? 2023, pardon me. 7 of us were filming in the forest up here at one of our locations. I saw a UFO. It was 20 yards away from us on the ground at 7:45 in the evening. Okay. And it's still daylight out. The 6 others with me could not see it. And it was right there. And I'm pointing at it like, it's right there. How could you not see it? But a few seconds later, they see aliens walking through the trees. 6 of them did. One person still in denial. Two others will never have said they will never go back to that location. And guess what? I did not see the aliens. Didn't see them at all. You know, so I mean, there's all of this weird phenomena that the phenomena really is in control.
Well, Dave. One reason is because what this needs to be said so much more is that these things are not always the separate classifications we want them to be, and that they are conscious events. These are emerging and coming from consciousness. Some of these beings are coming from consciousness, and we have to really accept that when realizing when in the presence of some of these beings, whether it be non-human, interdimensional space or whatever, some of them can really, through pure consciousness and through the optic nerves, completely control the environment that we perceive. They don't even need technology. They can do it with psychokinetic energy. You know what I mean? That puts us at a serious disadvantage when dealing with this phenomenon in any realm, in any aspect, whether it be ghosts, cryptids, ETs, reptilians, all these things. You know what I mean?
Yes. 3 minutes to go. Do you have a favorite? Like, give me an example. I used to be a real UFO guy, but over the last couple of years, I found myself just in love with searching for Sasquatch. I love it. I love being in the forest. I love being in nature. I love that fear of being, the beta in the forest, because the Sasquatch would definitely be the alpha. I love the fact that my area, I'm not only battling the elements of four seasons, but I'm also battling the mosquitoes and always being aware of the mountain lions, the grizzly bears, the black bears, and the wolf packs in my area.
My.
But I love that thrill. Am I a good outdoorsman? No, I'm probably in the bottom percentile, because I'm still learning. I grew up in a city, man, but on the flip side, it makes it, I just find it so much more fun than going after ghosts. Can you knock on the wall 3 times? Or, trying to determine, is that a satellite or is that a UFO?
That's an intense question. I don't know how to answer, because I like aspects of everything. You know what I mean? I've got a definite Sasquatch touched my life, and I did not expect that. So I have a very much a fascination with them, especially with their paranormal abilities and physical prowess. I find it fascinating. Okay, amongst other things. I've always been very interested in the different species that I've encountered. And I don't know where they're all from. You know what I mean? I was 36 years old before I finally got a name for this alliance I deal with. And I was just, tripped out and wanted to be. I was like, thank God it wasn't the Ashtar Command or the Galactic Federation, but it was even worse than that. So, I mean, but trying to understand the different beings and what their involvement with the Earth Matrix is. Not just with me, why I'm experiencing, but what is their involvement with the Earth Matrix? Why are they so interested in that and in the agenda here? I find that fascinating. When that goes out to extra solar planets and those that are inhabited. That's why I had your friend Jessica remote view. She never knows she's looking at when I give her targets. So a lot of times, man, that stuff is like so many light years away, Dave.
Right.
But I want to know more about what the construction of other civilizations are. And I've gotten really, really involved with the regression work I do and with earthbound spirit release stuff I do. I find it fascinating. It's the most rewarding work I've ever done. So does that answer your question, man?
I think it does. I think it does, because you're one of the good ones. When we return on Spaced Out Radio for the second half hour of the show, I'm going to hit Barry up on his weirdest stories that he heard or maybe experienced in 2025. Why not? If you're going to have a multiple experiencer on the show, you might as well get into the weird and strange. I love this guy. Go to his YouTube channel, Barry Littleton. Make sure you hit subscribe. This is Spaced Out Radio. All right, we are clear. Man, that flew by that first half hour, man.
That was
Holy
so quick,
cow,
man. I couldn't believe it when you said that. I was like, no way. Wow.
Dude, that's crazy. That's just
Wow.
crazy.
Wow. I was
Yeah,
like,
man.
that was like a time warp, bro, to be quite honest, man.
I know.
I
know.
don't perceive time that good, but man, that was intense.
Oh man. This is incredible.
Wow.
That was far. Larry Sharp, how you doing? Let's see here. Thank you, Belief Hole Podcast, for that great super chat. Thank you to Deborah Rooney, Donna, and Kitty Caddywhack. Appreciate you. Much love to you. If you're new here and this is your first time here, do us a favor, hit subscribe, ring that bell, give us a thumbs up. We'd greatly appreciate it. I'm here 5 days a week outside of the Christmas holidays because I have no life but to talk about this stuff at night. And so I'm here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern time for 3 hours a night. 3 hours. Yeah, that's what we do. Barry, take a break. We got about 3.5 minutes.
3.5. Cool. Thank you.
Yep. So we'd appreciate earning your subscription to our channel. Yes. We got a windstorm happening outside right now. Outside SOR HQ. She's a windy. See how cold it is right now. 28 degrees Fahrenheit, -2, but feels like -11 with the wind chill. Pardon me. -13. Yeah, it's actually -2, but going down to -13 with wind chill factor. How nice. I love it. More snow on Christmas Eve. -30. Hey, -13. That's actually good temperature. -9. No, that's too much wind. Need the cold, not the wind. Need the cold. See, the reason why we need the cold and not the wind is so the lakes freeze. So that way we can go play some hockey outside. If you've never played hockey outdoors on like real ice, it's pretty cool. NPZ2N, welcome to SOR chat. How you doing? Who else has joined us here? Oh, okay. That is Zeddy. F you, Zeddy. There you go. Just for tradition's sake. All right, Barry's back in the hot seat. Let's bring him back in. Oh, man. Undead Jed, nice to see you. MJ, thanks for coming on in. And pretty much it, man. I'm a little heartbroken this Christmas, man. A little heartbroken. My son is 12. Okay. Mm-hmm. Didn't ask for a single toy this Christmas. First time. I really don't want my time in the toy aisle of Walmart or wherever other toy stores to be ended like this quick.
Yeah. More into bikes and things now, starting to look towards cars and all that.
Everything's hockey for him. Everything is hockey right now. Hockey and school. He loves school. Rainwater, how are you?
Is the kid all right? No, I'm just kidding.
No, man.
I found school tedious at best, but necessary, I guess. You know.
Put it this way: he doesn't get it from his old man. That's for sure. Right.
Right on.
We got about a minute here.
Oh, cool. Right on.
Wow. You people in your 70-degree weather. Oh, how nice t-shirt weather at this time of year. I just wanted to get cold so the lakes freeze.
It's gonna be 70 degrees around here during Christmas. That's super unusual here.
Let's see. After Christmas, Friday and Saturday, it's supposed to be -9 Celsius, which will be 16 degrees Fahrenheit. Then wind chill will take that down to -7 Fahrenheit. So that's where I am.
Oh, right on.
It's like, come on, get cold. Let's freeze these lakes. Get a blizzard going. Here we go, Barry.
Cool. Okay.
We're into the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott, and we got one of the best guests in the world here, Barry Littleton, the man, the myth, and the experiential legend himself. We're going to bring Barry back on momentarily, but first we want to say hello to all of you tuning us in and remind you that our archives are always free. If you've missed parts of this show, you know what? You can find them on YouTube. You can find them on any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Barry Littleton in here. He's a lifelong experiencer searching for answers to the unknown, and we love it when he is here. We bring him on a couple of times a year because he's just so damn good. Barry, welcome back.
Hey, what's happening? Thanks for having me back again.
Oh, anytime, my man. Anytime. Question for you, since I'm the guy who asks a lot of questions. Your weirdest story or encounter of 2025? Gotta dig deep.
Gosh, I mean, there's been a bunch. I could say one that was somewhat recently that kind of tripped me out. I do these Earthbound Spirit releases, and this particular time, and it's happened actually twice now this year, but I'm doing this Earthbound Spirit releasing, and sometimes I'm speaking strictly the Earthbound Spirit release level, which is like grandma, grandpa, people like that didn't cross over, whoever, for whatever reason. Okay, and then it goes another level where you go down to the, demonic and things like that, and these inorganic beings and things. And sometimes they'll come up during the process of getting rid of the Earthbounds. They're attached to the places of trauma on the body, just like Earthbounds do. You know what I mean? So that's one thing. But this when this came up, I'll just get rid of them. I don't try to battle them. I just get rid of them. But the Earthbounds I'll cross. And that's a little easier than people would think, because a lot of times they want to talk to somebody. So you tap into crossover. This particular one that I'm going to mention here was odd because when this Earthbound comes up, it's an extraterrestrial. And it describes itself as being a type of mantis that does not look like the ones that are represented in our media. And it's so bizarre. It says that first I asked him, why didn't you cross over, and what happened? It's what happened first, and it starts saying that they were mantis beings, but they were very advanced, but they were peaceful. But then automatically it starts saying, Dave, but we're armed to the teeth. We're armed to the teeth. We're not to be messed with at all. We're warriors, but we're peaceful. And that kept coming out again and again when I'm communicating with this thing. So that's part of the reason it was still trapped. Now, what it just starts describing to me is being on board a craft that is part of like a contact scenario for Earth that deals with us consciously and in the dream state. And what they were in what this thing describes is a pod on board this craft, like almost, for better description, like almost not cryogenic, but beds, like pods like that, where they're actually communicating with contactees and people and relaying with information. And that's what they're doing. So they're in stasis. It describes a type of stasis. And at that time, it says that they got attacked by these reptilians that had some type of a sound technology that damaged their craft, and they crashed. And then it starts describing how several crew members died. This one and another one survived, but when humans came, they moved it and it died in a vicious way. And the fact that they're too superior to be attacked by these reptilian species, this thing was tripped out. So I had to go about trying to help this thing cross over. So the first question is, Dave, well, what is your society like as far as what do you believe in? You know, and it starts saying, just like you, we believe in a creator, a prime creator, but we're not like you. You all are so disorganized spiritually, it's disgusting. And, you know, I started thinking the way it started saying the way its society is everybody, one spirituality, one way. But I started really thinking about the way insect colonies function and how they would if they were at a level of advanced sentience spiritually. It made sense what it was saying. So I used that to get this thing to cross. It was just bizarre. You know what I mean? Because you don't know what this thing's gonna say. What do you think the universe? I mean, I don't know. Anyway, that's just one that was really interesting. And I had another come up not long after that. But I guess if anybody was if one of them was gonna show themselves to somebody that was helping others cross, I guess it would be me. I've been involved with different species most of my life, so. Food for thought, you know, but it was very interesting experience. And look, Dave, I don't make the rules. I just try to take the notes and just be blown away. Every time I do any of that work, I be feeling brand new, man. In a way, I mean that as in, I think that there's certain saying that you have to be as of children to get back into the kingdom. That thought process, I think, but that wonderment that comes with that work and with the joy of it is kind of that way. Anyway. Hope that was a very long deal, but I hope I answered it good for you.
The ET species that you have interacted with, I mean, a lot of them seem to give the same message that you're screwed up the planet. You guys are infantile. You're warlords. You fight too much. You know, you enjoy soccer of all sports. I don't understand that. You know, and I can see where the aliens don't care for that. You know, I mean, there's a lot going on around here that I could see why you know, they probably have signs up on the moon saying, don't get too close. You know what I'm saying?
Warning,
But it's hard to believe, though, that out of all these species that are allegedly in contact with people on our planet and or visiting our planet, that we don't have more understanding of what it's all about.
You know, I think part of it is you've got so many different factions here, and they've always been here. You know, because like, for example, before I ever came forward, especially when I was younger, you know, I would try to find illustrations of these beings I was seeing on board these craft, and I couldn't. I see stuff of grays, sometimes reptilians, but I couldn't even find an insectoid that looked like the one I had encountered. They always looked like mantis, and this thing did not. This thing looked more like a grasshopper. So that became a little bit obsessive for me. And also the fact that I couldn't find any contactees that looked like me besides Barney Hill or any extraterrestrials that didn't look like Fabio. That was very disappointing. These things all put together, you know, makes it very difficult. We have how many factions are dealing with this planet, both interdimensionally, multidimensionally, extraterrestrial from space and from just the inner Earth here. We've got so many different factions here that have been manipulating, and this whole thing's wool's pulled over our eyes, you know, to where we're just seeing the TikTok UFO. Come on, man. That's, you know.
What do you think about proof? You know, because there's a big difference between proof and evidence. And a lot of the skeptics will say, where's the proof to what you're saying? Where's the proof the government has contact? Where's the proof? Where's the proof? I mean, it reminds me of that old Wendy's commercial with the old lady yelling, where's the beef?
I like those commercials, man. Where's the beef? Yeah, I remember that. You know, I think that I don't expect him to ever really come forward. I don't think it's going to happen much more than what we're seeing now, these little nuggets. But the problem is you've got so many people talking right now due to our communication system right now and sharing their stories and bringing together that conscious tapestry, I think, that shows this is something else going on as we become a type 1 civilization. I kind of think that's what's happening right now. And the reveal of things like the self-assembling nanotechnology that is being put in people to suppress their natural abilities, to make us more like these, whatever, man, cyborg things, whatever. I mean, that right now, and how they're trying to use that especially to enslave us as we become a type 1 civilization. That's what's going on right now. You know what I mean? If you start looking at, like, first thing, for example, today, I did this show with Jessica, and she hit me earlier and showed me this thing that was about the sun. And people were talking about these really large coronal holes that's burning a lot of plasma of the sun. I've been saying for a very long time that those black spots of the sun are actually portals as well. And when you start dealing with civilizations that are type 3, 4, that start using not just the parent star as the main power source, but space itself. And then when you start going into type 4s, they start using even the space of the black hole, the Mako itself, as a power source. It's a whole nother thing going on. You know what I mean? But that I think is something just to be aware of right now, what we're dealing with on this planet as far as the negative things, and that they're trying to actually weaponize portals here. You've got civilizations trying to weaponize suns, creating suns, and that's, I think, what we're getting aware of right now before we become a type 1 civilization. But I think it's important that we don't be enslaved before we do it. And I got to be honest with you. The work that I did with Jessica forced me to accept that, because I mean, I've heard things, people like William Tompkins saying things like, he's a pretty good whistleblower, Dave. He's saying things like, the Milky Way has a problem with slavery. It's not that advanced. You've got a lot of races that are lower still causing problems. Okay, and slavery is the thing. And when I gave her the target of TRAPPIST-1, I just wanted to compare what data she got with that guy, Buddy Bolton, that was doing it with Linda Moulton Howe for Earth Files. I want to see if she got the same thing on that fourth one, I think it was, maybe with these amphibious species. That interests me, and it wasn't. She starts telling me, what is this? What are these high mid-rises or something like that? And the next thing she starts going to immediately, all this data is, what's this with the slavery? This can't be the future. They allowed slavery to go on like this. I just had to accept it. Like, what the heck? I just want to stuck with some amphibious species. I got the slavery, but that comes up. And I think it's just something we need to be aware of. We've got people that are having 21 and back and SSP and super soldiers. Now, I'm not discrediting anything, but some of that is stuff that's being induced maybe into some type of a digital twin or digital cyborg that's being used to terraform places like Mars. And you start looking into that technology for real and how they scientifically can transfer memories into these digital twins, and how you've got targeted dream incubation technology or dream engineering that's turning dreams into memories and those memories into reality. Those people won't know. But we're going through that, and I think it's rewriting the narrative of contact, because you and I both know all contact's not positive, okay, like mine. But if you start looking at the studies of CCRI and John Mack, and you find the majority are, and we don't hear that in the media. Like for me, they're always giving me stuff about either a healing or technology, something like that's always coming forward, something that can help our species. And when dealing with our contacts, if you're not an abductee, but a contactee experiencer, what about the experiences can be used to benefit your daily life and our daily life? That's where it lays out. Feel me?
I hear you. I hear you. But I so want to sit in one of those remote viewing sessions with you and Jessica. I do.
She does the remote viewing. I just provide the targets. Yeah.
I would just like to sit there silently and watch it happen. I mean, both of you are so talented when it comes to it. We'll give a shout out to the cryptid huntress, Jessica Jones, in our chat room on YouTube, listening on in. We love you, my dear. You're awesome.
Thanks for being here. In fact, thanks to everybody being here. I appreciate it. It's really cool.
So let me ask you then, for people who may not understand what you're doing, where do you get these remote viewing targets from?
Honestly, a lot of times spirit will push me. They'll just push. They'll give me something. It seems like, and I can't. I say spirit because I quit trying to use the classifications because sometimes the stuff that the star beings will push feels different than the stuff that the angelics or these light beings will push. But it's all higher vibration, but they feel different, if that makes sense. The star being stuff always feels more scientific to me, and they use more of my knowledge of science, where spirit, as in light beings or angelic, whatever you want to call them, they use things that are more consciously involved. So I kind of derive the targets from there, and they'll come to me like that. Like, for example, I'm getting pushed like, hey, the Moe of Easter Island. That was one I gave her. Or I might just be curious. Like, I was curious, for example, Dave, like, okay, what were the plasma balls that were making those crop circles in Wiltshire? The ones that's on film. What were they? And by the same token, who was the faction that took all the time to interact with those kids from Zimbabwe? Okay. And if you look at Preston Dennett's book here, The Schoolyard, he's got like 70 accounts in here. That's not the only one. But who is doing that? Who's taking time to talk to the children, our future, and say save the planet? And by the same token, who else was taking the time to involve and show their domination over the nuclear weaponry and deactivating it and things like that? What faction cared enough to do that? That's the reason I gave her those targets, if that answers your questions. Man.
We have 7 minutes to go until we're at the top of the hour. Barry Littleton is our guest on Spaced Out Radio tonight. The channeling that you are getting, are you being channeled through guides, or are you just an open portal for messages?
Channeling. I don't technically channel. I will not allow my body to be used or anything like that. I'll just do information. You know what I mean? I'll allow that. Yes. And I have boundaries on that. And I only allow those that are the beings that, I don't want to use the word because it sounds religious and it sounds corny. But honestly, when I've been approached by, especially when in the presence of a non-human on one of those ships or somewhere, look, Dave, I can talk about everybody else. I'd be freaking out. It trips me out. Okay. And it blows me away. And the first thing is, you might be feeling this love energy coming off them. Real powerful. But that doesn't mean they're not deceivers. So I got to know, where are you from? What do you want? And I'll get the same information. They start telling me the stuff, like the Christ energy, the Christ consciousness. I don't have any religion. So I'd be like, oh no. And immediately start thinking, but they start hitting me back. You don't understand. It's a vibration, a love frequency of the creator that y'all can access. It's above any religion, any person. It's not about that. And I've never been, during any of these encounters, have I been harmed, experimented on in a negative way? None of that type of stuff. I know a lot of people have, but I have not. And so I have to respect somewhat what they're saying. You know what I mean? So any beings that come to me or deal with me, I have to be on that level. For example, one last thing on that, one thing that got me to come forward was I had tripped out on, I'm a hypnotist, and I found I could put other people in rapid or instant easy. But then I couldn't do it to myself. And I was trying to learn it for myself so I could get these missing time pieces that I was looking for. You know what I mean? So that kind of made it to where trying to learn these things and trying to retain it was difficult. But during those, like my sixth one I had done, the beings started communicating. Maybe it's the fourth one. I'm sorry, communicating through me to the woman, or to the hypnotist, and she was really good. And it tripped me out on the recording because that was a type of channeling, and I don't allow it. But they're the beings on that level, and they were talking about parts of the experience on the ship that I couldn't even remember until they started mentioning it. You know what I mean? So that just tripped me out. And I got online and found somebody else that was having the same thing with Mary Rodwell, and they got me to eventually come forward. One of the reasons. So that type of a deal there is a trip, but that's kind of my guide for that. I don't know, works for everybody. I can't speak, but I can only speak what's worked for me and the experiences I've had. And I'll stand by that. You know what I mean? But I know there's others that have negative experiences and all that stuff. And I respect that by all means.
How do you find the strength or the rules that you have in place, the rules and guidelines you have in place so that doesn't happen? How did you build those boundaries?
Well, one is I'm a paranoid brother. Okay, very on the paranoid side, nervous brother. If you know, I'm especially nervous of people. You know what I mean? It's like people can be the most vicious, demonic of all. So you'll find that people say you're hard to be friends with, or not hard to get to be friends with. You kind of distance yourself. My mother told me that when I was younger. She said, "I watch you distance yourself from people." Even worse than I do. You shouldn't do that. You should let some people in. So I'm tripped out like that. So in that way, I keep the boundaries up with them, the way they communicate, the type information they're giving, just everything. You know, everything that would keep you protected. And I use this premise, okay? When I look at Earth's ecosystems, whatever you want to say, sorry, man, it's predatorial. So why would I think when we start dealing consciously and awareness wise with the universe is anything but predatorial also? So I treat it as such. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
No, I get that.
Right
I can totally see that. You know, but a lot of people have a lot of trouble, myself included, Barry, trying to find that guideline. Now, thank goodness I haven't been taken in a while, you know, probably because I'm getting, you know, a little bit intimidating with this big white beard I have going on, you know. But
now, Dave, let me ask you: were your experience positive or negative when you were being taken?
The phenomena has given me everything that I've wanted and everything that I haven't wanted.
Oh, that was a big comment, man.
Yes. Yeah. Like it keeps giving me different things, but it's pushing me into areas that I don't know if I'm ready for. Like my ET contact went on. The last time I was taken was about just over a year ago, around a year ago, that I have recall on. I think it may have happened once, maybe twice since, but I've experienced the good. I've experienced the bad. I've experienced the not so good. You know, mostly good. Only one time was really, really bad. I don't even talk about that because I get nightmares over it.
Yeah.
You know, I've talked a little bit about it, but in that one, right at the end, I told the alien that I was coming back for him. And then I saw a hybrid baby walking behind him, a little boy with a glowing, a luminescent green diaper with red and black veins running through it. And watching that child go right behind the alien, it was pretty eye-opening, scary. We could say that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, go ahead.
You know, if you're to do the scales, positive, negative encounters, which one would you say?
I would say that probably 70, no, higher than that. 80% of mine have been positive. I've never got the downloads. You know, I've never been fortunate enough to be able to say, hey, I've got a message from Zeta Reticuli that if I do this, you know, good things are going to happen. I've never got that type of message. I've never had that interaction, conversation with an alien that I know of. Right. But on the flip side, some of the encounters have been really, really cool. We'll get into that when we come back for the break, man, because it's a phenomenal experience to have an encounter. It really is. Doesn't matter with what it is, a ghost, a UFO, an alien, a cryptid. You're one of the lucky ones because not everybody gets to do that. Barry Littleton is our guest. YouTube, Barry Littleton, Littleton. Go make sure you hit subscribe. He's one of the best.
Excellent.
This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, Barry, we are clear. Quickly here. Hello, Nitro. Welcome to SOR chat. Athena, thanks for coming on in. I think we're all caught up. Barry, we got about 6 minutes. I'm going to put you in the green room. I'm just going to step away for a minute. I'll be right back, okay?
Cool. See you in a minute, my friend. Thank you.
All right. This is so much fun.
Oh,
Way
this is
too
great.
much fun. Be right back. All right. Back. Anybody jump in that I didn't see? Brad Sass, nice to have you back. Ursos, how you doing? Urso Supersov, how are you? George Jetson, nice to see you. No, I'm not chasing deer. The deer are huddled into the forest right now because there's a windstorm going on. Philip Blair, nice to see you again. Thurston Howell III, good to have you here. Thank you, Jerence Carter. Don't forget, Jerence will be signing autographs after the show. Good night, the Doug Shelby. Whoopoo, how are you? The Cryptid Huntress. How are you, beautiful? All right, let's bring Barry back. There he is. Thank you tonight to everybody who's given us a thumbs up on our YouTube side. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you to our super chatters, Kitty Caddywhack, Donna, Deborah Rooney, and Belief Podcast. Thank you very much. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You can check it on out. Kimberly Burgess, my dear, Merry Christmas to you. I love you, my dear. I hope you're well. And here we go, everybody. Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Zoll. Zoll is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. We say hello to our guest tonight. We got him for the next 60 minutes. Barry Littleton is here. He's got a great YouTube channel. Just type in Barry Littleton. It's right there. And you want to hit subscribe to that because this guy is awesome. Barry, welcome back.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Right before the break, we were talking about ET contact. And, we were talking about weird things that have kind of happened. I have to tell you this because I know you're going to laugh. Okay. So at our Bigfoot site this year, where we were starting to get really, really cool interaction, we had, and I laugh at this because it's so true, and you just can't make this crap up. Pun intended. So my buddy Tim and I were sitting at our lawn chairs at our base camp, and we just came in and we were getting our trail cams ready because this was going to be the first time, after months of being there, this was going to be our first time putting trail cams out because we wanted to get a little, maybe a view of something that was going on. Okay. And as we're setting it up, we stopped filming. And lo and behold, what happens right after that? About 35, 40 yards into the trees, we hear something big moving. Okay. And the next thing you know, whatever it was, Barry, started ripping flatulence for about 15 seconds in the trees. And I turned over to Tim and I said, "Are you kidding me right now? Sasquatch is ripping ass right in front of us." And we were killing ourselves laughing, but in shock at the same time. And then we realized that we weren't recording at that time, which really upset us. But I tell you, I've never heard anything like that. And Barry, we are in the middle of the forest, okay? There's one way in and one way out. Anybody who's coming in, needs to be able to pass us. So we know it's nobody human. Okay. And this was just one of those things, man, where I don't know how to explain it, but these Sasquatch that were there were absolutely toying with us in a fun way. And it sucks that I can't get out there right now because literally there's way too much snow there and it would get a little dangerous on the way in. But I had to tell you that story.
So tell me, was the wind blowing your way?
No. The funny part about it was the week prior to this happening, a friend of mine who is First Nations, she came out and she was drumming and singing.
Mm.
And as soon as she finished drumming and singing, maybe 4 minutes later, she's sitting on her lawn chair. Her drum is on her chair, on her lap. And probably in that same area, we heard the loudest double tap of a tree knock you have ever heard. It was violent, what we would consider violent. Okay. Like it was Louisville Slugger on a brick wall, just bang, bang, like Barry Bonds type of swing for a home run. And it was incredible. And then the following week, we had this little incident happen. And it was enough to put the chills up your spine. That's for sure. Because our area is very claustrophobic. You can't see, outside of the base camp. You can't see very far in front of you because the trees and the brush are so thick.
Mm.
And we have trees in that area that are 100-foot trees, like old growth forest. It's a beautiful place.
Wow.
So
I heard a lot about their sense of humor.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, but let's get back to aliens here for a second.
Sure.
The contact that people are having, do you think the majority of people even know it's happening?
No. I think that part of what's happening right now is so many more are becoming aware of it. And I think that's the shift in consciousness. And I had mentioned before, because part of it is that some of this happens so much on a different, we can call it whatever cool words we want, frequency, vibration, whatever, densities, all these different things. But it happens, on definitely a different conscious level, to where a lot of times, like for certain example, you kind of had touched on it earlier with your experience, but someone that has seen a UFO in a crowd and, then no one else can see it. Maybe one other person, no one else can. And then that, you just go on with your life after that.
Right.
You're amazed for a minute or two. You might think about it. Then it's just kind of forgotten about it. But then 2 days later, 3 days later, you're having dreams about weird beings, or dreams about aliens, or dreams about being in weird hospital-like environment, or whatever it might be. And because of the time lag between the sighting itself and the speed that it happened to you on the conscious level, you're unaware with the time lag that's dream connected, and that's part of the contact. That's just one example, and I noticed that a lot, like at those conferences I would go to. It's the people that would come up to me and say, "Oh, I've not had experiences like you, but I think this is so cool, all this and that stuff." But they feel like contactees. They've got that thing I call Artron energy that I stole from Doctor Who. But when you've been through in one of these ships that is using these black holes as a power source as well, or around some of these beings that are giving this high kundalini or this high prana energy they have to like being propulsion and energy for the craft itself, it irradiates the cells. Right. And I can detect that on some other contactees a lot of times. And it'll be those people that come up to me, Dave, say, "I have experiences like you." And I'll be like, "Are you sure about that? Have you seen a UFO?" Matter of fact, a couple of times, yeah. And it'll be the situation I say, "Can anybody else see it?" Well, no. You see, and that's why they have that deal. And they'll see that quickly that something happened when they saw that. I mean, even to where a point that you could have been on board the craft and not know it. You know what I mean? It happens that quick, and especially dealing with species that can bilocate us, bilocate our energy body, our dream body from our physical body, and have interaction with that. You know, and I think when exposed to that type of technology, certain things happen, like maybe that elation I talked about, but then after that, it's like you crash real hard, almost like you're bipolar or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, I get that. I get that. Been there, my friend. Let's talk a little bit about that though, because for a lot of people who don't know what's really happening, they kind of slough it off as a nightmare. They kind of slough it off like it's just like you said, imagination. How does one tell reality that it's happening from their own mind? How do they win that battle into realizing that this actually happened?
You know, I think maybe that's more important for people like me that obsessed about that. For years, I wouldn't give credit to the fact that I was having also astral contact and dream body type of contact as well. I would only include the physical stuff where I'd be on board one of these craft and I could actually touch something, and I'm getting that sickness. There's no doubt I had a physical body. You know what I mean? But I always wanted to make a separation between that type of physical contact and that's more astral conscious related. And it's not the separate things I wanted it to be. Does that make sense? So in that way, if you're really obsessed like I was, what physical symptoms are you having from it? If it's a case you're an abductee, it's going to be negative physical experiences, marks, you know, pain, things of that nature. But if it's something like what I went through, it's going to be that energy drain. It could be, or the fact of the physical sensations. That's just where I'm really coming from on that. That's what helped me the most in that way. But I think that astral conscious dream experiences should not be at all disqualified. That's something that definitely changed about my perception of the contact experience, especially since I came forward. I get so many people are dealing with that, but I was always think that when I would have the astral stuff happen, I'd see this stuff and I might be going through a corridor or see healings going on people, but I didn't count that because it's like I couldn't touch anything. It's like I wasn't fully there. You know what I mean? But that's not supposed to be the separate things I want it to be. I think that's part of this being a conscious event and realizing that. You know what I mean? It's like I said, it's very odd, but I have to accept that more than anything, and how some of this even takes us from science into philosophy. You know what I mean? But it just does.
No, I hear you. Have you ever been healed?
You know, very interesting. I would tell you yes, but I had one experience. Well, actually, I had one experience that was where they told me they were awakening the quantum, the light quanta of my DNA, so that I would believe in myself more. And that's what I call the bio bed experience. That's the only time I've been kind of experimented on, but I wasn't really touched. The beings had these wands that had these odd, looked like almost quasi crystals on them with like
Right.
symbol, and then these things look like fiber optics coming out of them. And they were these little blue beings. Okay, and the other thing I'll throw in with that is, look, when I took that accident, any one of the brain injuries I took should have taken me out, technically. Okay, let alone all four. As things I would go to survivor group and stuff, you know, I'd interact with other survivors, and I see these massive deficits they would have, and they might have just had one TBI, and they start looking at me going, "I'm not doing good like you," and it give me like guilt, survivor's guilt. You know what I mean? I'm like, what do you mean? I do have issues. It's just not, you know, manual dexterity, memory. It's not that stuff. You know, it's emotional. You know what I mean? Anyway, um, sorry, man. What was your full question again? I feel like I'm.
Just have you if you've ever been healed by
Oh, okay.
the,
Oh,
the
yes. Sorry. That was the point of that whole deal. Okay, during that accident, this made me take a real interest in Mary Rodwell's work when I got out of the hospital, was functioning again. Is she had done that thing, it was like my mom and aliens. It was after that, it was about these people that are lifetime contactees from childhood on up. and how they have these major traumatic events in which the beings will stop the space-time continuum and pull them out of this event and then put them back a couple seconds later. But she was saying how people like that often had these really incredible healing times, and they didn't have the injuries that they should have. Like something's off about it. And my friend, I matched that. You know, when I didn't stay down, once I recovered and got out of the hospital, you know, it took me about after I woke up, it took about a month for me to get out, a little less than a month. But the doctors would say, and so many doctors looking at me, they would say things or ask me a lot of questions. And they're like, it's interesting, you know, some of the nurses would call me like, you're kind of like a miracle patient. What do you mean? They said you had major head trauma and you went through windows, you didn't lose your teeth. And things like that I wasn't, you know what I mean? Or coming into contact with that dude, that gentleman named Stephen Gibbs, that was selling these things, these hyperdimensional resonators.
Right.
That does not actually make you time jump, but it does some stuff, but we'll talk about that another time. But him, when I called him to try to obtain one of these things, the first thing he's telling me is, oh, I was wondering when you would call me back. And he said, I recognize your voice. And I can hear him going through papers. What do you mean? He said, well, I figured you used the other machine and you time jumped and you took off. And I said, man, you've never talked to me before. And he said, yes, I have. And he starts saying, I recognize your inflections. You do sound a little bit younger, though. And I said, when was this? He said, it was 2 years ago. And at that point, Dave, I was like, man, 2 years ago, I was in a coma. You definitely did not talk to me, man. And then he was quiet for a second. He goes, have you seen your double yet? Now that, I was trying to write this cat off as a kook. But when he said that, I had seen my double before. When I was 7 years old, I saw somebody that looked like I looked when I was 23. It just took years. I ran into, it was the oddest thing. And I never forgot it. Can't prove it, but this guy said that. And I'm like, maybe, why? And he says, because he said, did you touch him? I said, no. He said, you try? I said, I stepped up, but he stepped back. And he said, if you'd have touched him, there'd be parts of your life that you couldn't remember right now. And he said, you said you were in an accident? And I said, yeah. He goes, is there something odd about you? Like maybe you healed really quick and you didn't have the injuries that you should have. They didn't sustain. And I was like, why? You know, he started to irritate me a little bit. He says, well, man, it's your double. He was doing something to your time and doing something to mine, our timelines. That's what, and you know, and that was just such a weird encounter I had with that individual. Can't write everything off as a nutcase. He was a weirdo, but you know, it was just so bizarre that made me just deal with some of these things about what's really going on. We're dealing with time travel and individuals that have access to time technology and things, and just how we can consciously maybe break the barrier of time also. These are very important things. I'm bringing that up because I know you're into time travel too. You know what I mean? But that is what it's the double, David, so Dave, excuse me, that gave me actually an obsession with time control technology and time science. That's why I dived so deep in it. I had to know more about what happened. And that individual showed up before and introduced me, was talking to my mother, was looking for my mother, just weird stuff that I know something's happening, stuff that I would do if there was another me and I had access to that type of technology. When I took this apart and I did videos on it, and I started making some sketches that I think it needs a time integration circuit. And I think I know how to make one. I called Stephen Gibbs and I said, man, you know, anybody tell you this stuff don't work, man? And he starts going, well, if you're a soulless alien hybrid, my stuff won't work on you. And I said, no, it's not. I said, maybe it's just, you know, there's some things that could be done. It might work better. And he started screaming at me, Dave, I want to hear that crap from you. You soulless alien hybrid. So our last conversation didn't go good. But anyway, involving healing, taking that all the way back. Sorry, I took us way too far on that. Mary Rodwell and her work with people that are lifetime contactees that have odd accidents like that and seem to not be injured in the way you would think. I just fit that category. And when I met her at the Conscious Life Expo, and just for COVID in 2020, it's her and I sitting there. I got to talk to her about it. I said, that's what really turned me onto your work when you were talking about that. Anyway, sorry. That was a long, drawn out way to answer your question, man. I'm sorry.
We got
Way too
4
far.
minutes to go. I gotta give you one of mine. Not trying to one up you or anything. One of the last clear times that I was taken, I was in a dark alley with my dad, my cousin, and my one of my friends growing up. And what was weird about it, I was in dream state, and in my dream, we're like, hey, we got to get going. I said, wait, I got to pick up my phone. Now, here's how I know it was a dream, because I had one of those indestructible Nokia phones from the 90s. I've never owned one, but for some reason I had one, and I had it sitting on this stairwell. And all of a sudden I pick up the phone and the gravitational pull starts. You know what I'm saying by the gravitational pull when they're about to take you? That starts. I drop the phone. Okay. So I get up, do my thing. I'm like, no, don't want to go. Don't want to go. But apparently they're taking me. So, because of lack of time, I'll try and cut this short. I went to bed at 1 o'clock after this show. It is now 2:09 a.m. I wake up in my bed, and I know they're standing right behind me. I'm facing the middle of the bed, and I know they're behind me, and I know there's a window there. And I can hear this, don't turn over. Don't turn over. Dave, they're right there. Do not turn over. And I'm like, no, I'm turning over. This is what I do for a living. Like, why would I not turn over? And I go to turn over, and outside my window, I see this giant white flash, and they're gone. So now that I'm awake, I got to go to the bathroom. The minute my feet hit the floor, I was frozen, like frigid, frozen cold. I walk to the bathroom, do my thing. My teeth are chattering. I am so cold. Hop in the shower, go back to bed, wake up in the morning about 7 o'clock, and I am almost crying in tears because I'd been having some chest pain recently. And I thought, geez, something wrong with my heart? Like, do I go in? Do I get it checked out? Like, I was within a couple of days of going to the doctor saying, I think we might have a problem here. And in that spot, I had a cold spot the size of just about a silver dollar. I had a cold spot on my chest. And I knew that they had healed me. I just knew. I don't know. I don't have any fact, but it just felt like it. So I call up my dad. I said, Dad, how did you sleep last night? He goes, not bad. I woke up a couple times. What time did you get up, Dad? I got up about 7:15 this morning. I said, no. What time did you wake up last night? He goes, oh, geez, it was after 2 a.m. I said, what, 2:05, 2:09? He goes, yeah, around there. I said, what woke you up? He goes, I heard a bang like something dropped on the floor. Remember I dropped my cell phone? Okay. I said, well, why did you get up? He goes, I was cold. I was freezing cold. So I went and grabbed another blanket to put it over top of me. I said, well, how did you wake up this morning? How do you feel? And he goes, I feel great. He goes, this is the first time my dad has onset of COPD. He goes, this is the first time my lungs haven't hurt in the morning and I haven't been coughing. And my dad lives 4.5 hours away from me. It's not like he would have known. He's not into any of this stuff. Right? So the fact that him and I had the same experience, it's pretty cool.
Interestingly enough, that is not the first time I've heard of Nokia being connected to contact. Not the first time I've had experiences. I've heard that before. And I used to have Nokias back in the day. You know what I mean? Yeah, until they finally played out. But that's not the first time I've heard that. And, it's interesting because a lot of times it took me a lifetime to understand that the reason why I have this, especially photographic type memory when it comes to entertainment, and I could see a movie once and remember like every line from every actor in it. It was a curse when I was a kid because we got Showtime and Skinamax. They were showing the same stuff every other day, man. It's like, man, I was cooked after 1 week. There's nothing left to watch. But anyway, when you were talking, I was seeing a scene.
I hate to cut you off right there. We're going to break in 4 seconds. Barry Littleton till the top of the hour.
Listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear. Good times, my man.
Oh, right on, right on. Yeah.
That Nokia thing's pretty weird then.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I've heard that before. I've also heard the Nokia being connected to what's called the gray overlay. And that's this masseuse that says when this client comes in, they excuse me, when this client comes in, they have this the policy of turn your cell phone off. And when this client comes on, suddenly the masseuse starts thinking about aliens. And when they're working on the client, the cell phone is turned off on the counter over there. It makes a sound. And from the occipital lobe rises this like holographic gray alien that the masseuse can see. And it's raising a little bit out of the body, and it's like looking around like an animal out of its cage. And the phone, this Nokia phone on the count on across the room makes another sound, and this thing goes back down into the body of the person. And they said that the client was completely unaware of it, but they swore that this Nokia phone was connected to this thing being like in and out of its cage, holographic cage, or however you want to say it.
Right.
Interesting. You know what I mean?
That's just, it's one of those things, man, where you get those little things that, you know, these little signatures, shall we call them, that the public doesn't add up because we're not all telling our stories. But when we finally tell this is actually a good reason. I'm going to make a point here for a second. This is why we need real experiencer stories, not military experiencer stories like the so-called whistleblowers, real people stories, because there are a lot of, like Barry just said about the Nokia phones, there is a lot of intrigue about this kind of thing. And if we can all add it together, that's another puzzle piece. If we have 1,000 people saying that they keep, you know, they go to pick up their cell phone and it's a Nokia phone. Well, why is it a Nokia phone? Right? Why isn't it an iPhone? Why isn't it a Samsung or a Google phone or whatever? Hell, even an old BlackBerry. Why is it always the?
Oh, you know that phone was a social nightmare for me.
Oh my goodness, I bet.
Oh yeah, man, just like that one. I can't wait till they scrap that phone.
How about that? Forget the BlackBerry.
Oh man.
Oh God, I just got it. I just got it.
You just got it. You just got that joke. Yeah, but I had to knock some people out over that phone, man.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Ooh.
Oh, listen, that's your Saturday Night Live a few days early, man.
I feel like a fool that it took me too long to get that.
Oh man, that's great.
Oh man, we got about a minute to go here. Because I'll just sit here embarrassed now. Bounty Hunter Bear, how are you? Welcome to SOR chat. Oh God, that is hilarious.
Boy, you got a cool chat, man. It really flies.
Yeah, man.
That's cool.
Good people in there. Good people. I'm gonna try and get to some questions here. So bear
A
with
lot of contactees in there too. That's cool.
Hi, Adventures with Beth. How are you? I had to come out of lurking for that one. Shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Maybe we'll make a BlackBerry t-shirt. Put it up there. Never know.
I think that's a thumbs down idea. Maybe you should go.
Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in as we have Barry Littleton here until the top of the hour talking time travel next. Hey, we want to remind everybody that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Barry Littleton. You could go to his YouTube channel, Barry Littleton. He's got a lot of interesting information from remote viewing to aliens, UFOs. In my opinion, he's one of the best out there when it comes to multi-experiencers and the study that comes along with it. Barry, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate you having me.
All right, time travel, my man. Oh, before we get to that, you were going to finish the Nokia story about how many experiencers seem to have that indestructible 90s Nokia phone.
Oh, I've just heard things that are connected to the Nokia before, as far as people having experiences, and just I've heard it a couple of times, but one of the main ones comes in is the what's called the gray overlay. I don't know if people could hear when I said that earlier, but the gray overlay is a deal where you had the masseuse that is in Malibu or somewhere that had a person come in and they start thinking about aliens, and it's customary they had to turn their phone off and it's on like a table over. And when they're working on this person, the turned off Nokia makes some type of a sound, and it looks like out of the occipital lobe comes a gray alien, like a holographic gray alien, and it's kind of looking around, and the phone makes another sound that is turned off, and this thing goes back into the client. The client was unaware of it, and the masseuse described it as looking like the phone, the Nokia, had actually made a sound that took this thing out of its cage and then put it back in.
Oh, wow.
And that's another time I'd heard Nokia referenced in that way. So, it's just, it's interesting how much of that goes into blue light and how much that goes into 5G, 6G, and this nanotech and all the other stuff we're dealing with when we start putting the holographic principle in there,
Have you found other similarities between experiencers and what they've seen, heard, or had happen to them?
Yeah. Depends on if it's positive or negative. I tend to like the ones that are more healing. It's that way I follow like a lot of Preston Dennett's books on that, some of the healing, because I've seen stuff like that. I've been involved similar to that. So in that, I see a lot of characteristics that are similar. Now, as far as both positive and negative encounters, I see virtual reality scenario technology and virtual reality scenario optically and consciously as something that goes in both camps, and it can be used to help us to have like in my encounters, to have a frame of reference when you're dealing with some beings that are non-physical and technology is from another universe. I mean, it's like my lord, you need a frame of reference for the communication. Okay, and that's what that would be used like in my case. But then you got the others, they're warning me that hey, this has been corrupted by lower vibrational beings and to use to trick humans, people. And it wasn't long after that I found Dr. Carla Turner's work. That was back in the 90s. And she didn't come to a good end. So that really put the worry in a brother. Another reason to be that much more cautious during contact experiences, knowing about alien mind scans and things of that nature that these beings can do. And during an alien mind scan, they can do, telepathic hypnosis on us and a bunch of other things, along with projecting other environments into our optical nerves consciously. Very, very something to be aware of and, be cautious of at very least.
Let's get to time travel. This is a subject that seems to interest so many of us, Barry. And you have taken a lot of time dedicating your time to trying to figure this out. Do you think there are current time travelers hanging out here right now?
Yes. Yes. And I believe that they're in some of the ships that we're seeing. I myself had experience when I was younger with a ship that looked like it had windows around it.
Right.
Okay. And most of the ships I've been on board, they don't have windows because they're organic, not in the way we'd be aware of. But when I'm on board this thing, it actually looks like a silver wall. I've got illustrations of this on my YouTube channel, but the guy goes like this, and suddenly I can see the city I live in. I can see down the ground too. Okay. And to me, it looked like very similar to what would be something that could be back engineered that we would call a chronovisor. And what a perfect way to record a historical event like that without interfering, especially if the thing was cloaked at that point. They could cloak and uncloak. So I was convinced that those beings were like some type of time historians. So convinced that I gave those coordinates to Jessica also. Because see, I told them the time, the Triple Commission is what I call them. And so that in that way, I think those beings are here in those craft that we see some of the time. And I believe also, you've got so many different species that can manipulate inertial frame dragging, which actually is where closed time-like curves exist. Okay, that technology is natural, can be harnessed as far as time science. And so to think that there's not even maybe people from our future, and I will tell you something odd that I'd heard. One of the things I had heard about these plasma balls that make the crop circles,
Right.
were that they were actually people from the future when we've changed our container for consciousness out of these.
Wow.
And that high energy plasma is the next container for consciousness that we choose. And then when they come back here, one of the things about some of those crop circles are also markers for entry and exit points on timelines. Food for thought. Another reason I gave that to Jessica's applying blind target. I want to see if that manifested in the data also.
Do you think that these time travelers are coming in through wormholes? Do you think they have a DeLorean that does 88 miles an hour? What do you think?
That John Teeter guy said he showed his Corvette with the little dimensional resonator thing in it, that box, and then he showed the patents in the future that were supposed to be from GE and CERN that showed this technology. And I think that it was just that at a point there, when you start dealing with general relativity, time science is general relativity, it can be done with low power. It's the time science and time travel that happens with special relativity that needs high power, and sometimes exotic materials too. But exotic materials can be used as low power too. But I think that the low power is probably where we're at right now, and especially when we start dealing with what they're calling, quantum tunneling, which is sending information forwards and perhaps backwards through time. signals, and I think that could be done. That might be being done now. So these are things that I think, Dave, are really occurring in the private sector, and which has no regulation at all. Time science in the private sector, and I think a lot of times when you have individuals that are sensitive to timelines and time shifts and time edits, we can call them. Okay, when you get people like that that are around some of these perhaps centers, these private industries, laboratories that are experimenting on this stuff, they start experiencing not just the Mandela effect, but also deja vu more than normal. And that's just a person that's a time sensitive can detect that. The little minor jumps are able to do. Because I believe that things like, gosh, this right here,
Okay.
Ed Dame's The Kill Shot.
Right.
You remember that? I kind of thought that when that was being pushed so hard, that was an attempt to push us to a negative timeline. Where that happens, we get so much attention on it and so much focused. We guess we could use Cheryl Drake's morphogenetic field. So much of that to push us to a negative timeline. Just like, let's face it, another one they've always tried to push us to is nuclear war. It comes up again and again. It's been stopped, but I mean, they're trying to always push that. And it comes up. So there's these things like that we have to be aware of, and that these time edits and time shifts happen at times during a very high solar activity. And right now we're in such a cycle, I do believe. So, these are things just to be aware of, especially when studying time science and time technologies.
Do you think then that maybe this is a result of the Mandela effect?
I think that's part of it. I think it's part of it, and I think also we've got also portals that we call them micro wormholes or whatever that are unstable that move around on this planet a lot, and a lot of times I think a lot of us will go through them, and it creates also another type of either Mandela effect or deja vu effect. But I think those are the two, and I almost tend to go with deja vu more because I think some of these shifts edits may be rather subtle. You know what I mean? Like for example, a big one I think is when I don't know if we can say this, the day that the towers went down.
Yes.
That day. No one seems to remember that it's very odd that they were in the middle of a hurricane right then. It was called Hurricane Aaron. And Hurricane Aaron, for some reason, that the day that happened was just clear and they had air traffic. But no one really remembers that. They have to look it up on NOAA. I even talked to somebody who was from that area. And they said, man, I don't remember that. They looked it up. They said, but it was. I'm just saying, it's one of those things that's very odd. It's more than just C-3PO's leg being gold and then silver in one of the movies. It gets a little bit better than that. But I think that the time edits and time shifts are very, very subtle most of the time.
Do you think
maybe becoming more frequent too? Sorry, was it?
Do you think you've ever met a time traveler?
Yeah. Yes. And I called him. Also called them charters sometimes. And to my knowledge, these charters show up, and for us lifetime experiencers, about every 7 years. And it's a time where they approach you at somewhere that's like an airport, a bookstore, a public place. They're just somebody that comes out of the crowd and starts talking to you. It don't last very long, but during the time you're talking to this person, they say something just heavy to you. It makes you go, whoa. Kind of stops your perception a little bit, like, whoa. And then, man, they're gone. They're gone back off in the crowd. You don't know who they are, where they come from. Thus, several times people have interacted with what we could call extraterrestrials, angels, or whatever the classification, and been unaware of it. So in that way, I dealt with an individual that approached me that gave me something, this rock right here, actually. And he approached me in a store when I was 7 years old with my mother. I thought he worked there, but he didn't. And then it took me a lifetime decades to put together that this individual was also on this ship when I was 7 years old. I saw him on there. Okay. I couldn't quite put it together. Like, put it to you like this individual steps up to me, and my mother was an antique collector. And
Okay.
when sometimes my father would be out of town, she would go, as she called it, junking. And my other siblings are like 15 to 20 years older than me. So I'd just be her and I'd go to these boring places with her. But this place had this, there's a bookstore that had these rocks in this waterfall. And my mom's the other side, and I'm talking to this guy comes out, and he starts looking at me, and he comes up to me, Dave, and he says, "Young man, do you think igneous rocks are metamorphic by nature?" I remember looked at him, I said, "Well, yeah, but it takes millions of years. It needs to be like Lou Ferrigno and Bill Bixby, immediate the metamorphosis." And he started laughing, going, "It doesn't work like that." And he starts talking all this science stuff with me, okay? And he starts telling me at the end, I'm gonna give you that rock that you're looking at, but I want you to do this. I want you to join this. And by the time my mother's ready to leave, so really, and I'm in eyesight of her, so I'm in no danger, you know. And when I'm leaving, he says, "That's a very special stone. You should put it under your pillow and dream with it." And what he gave me was this blue card that was to join the Gem and Mineral Society for my state. He kept saying it's free. And that would play later on into my experiences and where the quasi crystals and knowledge of crystals comes in with ship propulsion and things like that. You know what I mean? But anyway, point being, that individual is what I call one of the charters. And every 7 years, one of them will come to us, that people like you, lifetime experiencers, and you start thinking about, wow, that did it. Maybe the timeline is changing on it. They're doing it more frequently. But sometimes somebody just came up to you at the airport, a bus station, and they were just heavy. Like, man, that cat was bad. And then they're gone, though, and you're like, man, but you don't forget it. You know what I mean? But I think that's their way of keeping charts on us, tags on us, or I don't know. I call them charters. That's what I call. But I believe they're also time travelers, temporal commissioners in that way. Okay, temporal commission. Like, I don't call them time cops. It's too Van Damme. But but hopefully I'm addressing your question, though, man.
One of the things I love about time travel is there's so many, pun intended, open doors to this subject. Is it wormholes? Is it dimension hopping? Is it portals? Is it everything above? Do you think that these people who are coming in, whether we'd recognize them as humans of what we consider humans or not, is irrelevant. But do you think these people coming in know that they are here? And why would they come here?
I'd say they're definitely aware of it. I think part of it is just historians take an accurate record of the past. And the others is, who knows, because sadly you've got these beings that can manipulate the space-time continuum. It's like all bets are off. You know what I mean? How many of them are here trying to influence the future, the past? Because I have these experiences, like you, I have the experience, but I ask, like, what's going to happen in the future? What's going to happen in the future? And I would have visions sometimes. I had a vision that kind of matched back in the Art Bell days. Michael Gordon Scallion saw all this glass, like skyscrapers, glass on some major city. I saw something like that too. So I started panicking, so I asked them, what's going to happen in the future? What's going to happen? And they never answer it. But they started telling me, show me the past. What might be, I don't know, millions of years in the past. And the earth looks like an ash going around our sun in a weird orbit. And they're saying that's never going to happen here again. So I think we don't have the full understanding of the cataclysm and recreation that's happened on this planet. Way before the Tartarian and stuff like that, we're going way back. When you had beings here that were, 30 feet tall and taller, from Triangulum Galaxy, places like that.
Man, what about immortals? Ever since I was a kid and saw the movie Highlander, I've been in love with the idea that immortals may be out there. Outside of the religious aspect of it, angels, demons, God, Jesus, whoever. Okay. Do you think there are immortal people here?
I gotta ask you, do you like Duncan MacLeod better or Connor MacLeod?
Oh man, doesn't matter. I haven't seen those movies in so long. I'm gonna have to find them on Netflix or Prime.
I was a
And go,
fan of the series. I'll tell you what. This is what I think when you start dealing with some beings that are from another biosphere, even another sun. Okay, when they get here, the solar radiation doesn't affect them and degrade their body like it does ours. Thus, why people before lived so long before the firmament fell. It filtered out a lot of the cosmic radiation. It's the cosmic radiation that takes us out for a big portion. So if you have any species that has a biofield strong enough to repel that, I think you could dealing with a certain amount of immortality here on this planet, if that makes sense. Maybe not, indefinite, but just compared to our lifespan. Or you have beings that are similar to like what Doctor Who's supposed to be able to do. The Time Lords can regenerate every cell through life energy. Do you have beings that can do that also? Consciously without having to transfer to another vessel. So I would say yes, definitely.
until the quickening happens.
Yeah, I
Then
was a
we
big Highlander
try and
fan
chop their
myself.
heads off.
I'm glad you brought that up, man. That was a good one.
Once the quickening happens, it's like, man, we are, it's full on attack, attack, attack. 3 minutes to go here with you. We've covered a lot of subjects tonight. Your favorite paranormal experience of 2025?
Real quick, one thing. When the Highlanders, the Immortals, they could sense each other when they're about 20 feet from each other or so. That's how it is with other contactees and me. I can sense it kind of like it feels that kind of the buzz kind of deal. Anyway, the most interesting one of 2025. Oh gosh, man. Oh. There's been so many, man, but that I don't know which one. Oh gosh, got me on that one, Dave. The mall aliens things was kind of interesting at first. So the ones in the background or backyard of the Nevada place, that one was kind of interesting. I thought maybe fake, maybe not, but it was just interesting the way the beings looked and the way that they moved. I thought that was just kind of interesting. But gosh, I don't. I'll tell you what it was not. 3-eye Atlas.
Right?
I'm still waiting for it to change. It's supposed to change my DNA. How come I don't feel nothing yet, man? I thought I have superpowers by now, based on 3-eye Atlas. What happened?
Man, my buddy, a good friend of mine, Sebastian Martin, went public with his remote viewing that he saw like the ship carrying like 5 million Draconians that were heading to Earth for an invasion. And he went public with it. And I was like, buddy, what are you doing here? Right. Like you may have been able to read that. I'm good with that on the remote viewing stuff, because sometimes you are going to get it wrong. But there are certain ones that you just don't go out in public and put it right out there in front of everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know Jessica remote viewed it, and she got like some reptilian stuff on it too. And that's when I started asking. I'd ask her, I said, is it possible that we have so many people focusing the psychokinetic energy on that thing that's what's starting to manifest? You know what I mean? Is it and we have to be very aware too that if we have negative inorganic beings that have given us our religions, which they have, and to think that there's not some of them out there that are absolutely trying to manipulate the highway that is remote viewing as we evolve into that as a type 1 civilization is crazy. So I try to make sure when I give her targets, they're like protected and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I think it's real important because I think that they can be influenced too, especially when you got everybody tripped. Oh, 3-eye Atlas and all these people saying all this stuff. It's easy to probably pick up all sorts of data that is false. You know what I mean?
I do, my man. I do. Barry, you have been just such a great guest over the years. I look forward to doing this again with you in 2026. You're really one of the best out there, my man.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. And please, people, subscribe to my channel. I'm still here.
Happy New Year. Coming up next in hour 3, Swamp Dweller, then the Wizard on the UFO Report.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Thank you, my friend.
Hey, it's my pleasure, man. Thank you for
Oh,
having me.
buddy. Much love to you. Much love to you. You're one of the best.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dave. I hope everybody enjoyed it, my friend.
You take care, okay?
Okay, thank you, Dave. Have a good night, my friend.
Be safe on the holidays, and we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks. Merry Christmas, my friend. Take care.
Take care. Barry Littleton, everybody. One of the best dudes in this field you'll ever get a chance to speak with. One of the guys I actually want to meet. You know, I really want to meet him. He just seems so genuine. I bet you I'd like to have a beer with him and just chat away about all the weird, strange stuff. I bet we'd talk for hours. Love the guy. Absolutely love him. We'll be right back here and see you soon. All right, we are back. Let us get the wizard in here. Wizard, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic.
Right on. Oh, if you need to interview Barry Littleton on your channel, man, he is just amazing.
Okay. Yeah, I'll we're trying to space out guests, like not have so many interviews, trying to do topics and stuff too. So yeah, I'll email him and see if we can get him lined up.
Yeah, he is phenomenal. He's one of the good ones. He's one of the dudes we need to protect in this field because it is just so many good things he can talk about. Oh, love the guy. Thank you tonight to Kmart, Blue Skies, Belief, Deb. I make that Deboruni. If I don't say Deboruni, she's going to get pissed at me. Donna and Kitty Caddywhack for the super chats tonight. Very much appreciate your love. Only one more show this week, guys. One more show before we have to call. I'm taking a break for the Christmas holidays on the 24th, 25th, and 26th. And I'm going to relax. Here we go, everybody. Two hours down, one to go here on Spaced Out Radio as we kick off hour number 3. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to remind all of you that we're going to be away a couple of days over the Christmas holidays, so don't be afraid. Our radio stations will be playing some archives for you, so that way you get to hear my dulcet radio tones, my face for radio, right in between the holiday festivities. Hey, want to also say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Zol. Zol is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. After hearing some of your stories on your channel, I got some courage to finally tell mine. I never opened up about this, and I've never told anyone. This happened a couple years ago in mid-October in northern New Mexico. My brother and I went up to our ranch to do some coyote hunting, as we had just lost some calves to them. On the way up, we picked up some fresh roadkill to get the attention of the coyotes. We throw the dead rabbit in the middle of the field, and we sat high on formation of rocks, overlooking the property. We were sitting about arm's length away from each other, but facing different directions. I was watching the north side, glancing through my scope to watch the tree line. My brother was watching the south end, and after about an hour of waiting, he tells me, "Look, something just spooked the cows. They're all running away." I turned to face the same direction, and we both got prepared to shoot it if it was a coyote. Once the cows cleared the area, the only thing to walk out of the tree line was a deer. This wasn't just any deer. It was a monster buck. The body and antlers on this thing were huge. It looked like a small elk. Other than the size, there was nothing abnormal about this deer, I guess. I have to guess we watched it for a few minutes grazing at least 250 yards away. I whispered to my brother to take a picture of this buck so we can show our friends since we had a deer hunt coming up in the next few weeks. And this buck would make an amazing trophy. This is where it gets crazy. It was like the deer heard me whisper. He looked straight at both of us, holding the stare for a few seconds. Then it began to grow. While its body was changing, it let out this gut-wrenching roar that made my eyes and ears hurt. I know what you're saying. How did your eyes hurt? I don't know either. Something about looking at this while it screamed at me just made them ache. All of a sudden, this deer was now standing on its hind legs. I stayed in more of a shocked state when the deer started to yell. At first, it sounded like gibberish, just making weird sounds, but it finished off by clearly saying, "You humans are doomed." It ran to the dead rabbit and grabbed it while it cleared the whole property in seconds. There are several hundred acres of land, but that thing was out of sight in a blink of an eye. My brother and I sat there trying to see if we could figure out what the heck this thing was, or if we were just seeing things, because honestly, we felt crazy in that moment. We decided not to talk about it with anyone in fear of being laughed at or being accused of drinking or being on drugs, which we both don't do in all honesty. Now, fast forward to our hunting trip. It was my brother, 2 friends, and myself. We took a camper to the ranch, and the first night, one of our friends kept seeing red eyes in one of the camper windows. He said he could hear breathing next to the window while he was laying down as well. My brother and I pretended like it didn't happen and told our friend he was just excited for the hunt tomorrow. But we both had freaked out because, honestly, in the back of our minds, we knew what it was, and we were constantly checking out the window. Once the morning came, we split up into 2 groups. My brother and a friend decided to take the public land a few miles away from the ranch, while our other friend and I would circle the property. We returned to the camper for lunch with no luck. While we were cooking, I noticed my brother seemed nervous and was acting funny, and our friend thought he was sick. Before we started eating, my brother asked if he can speak with me alone for a moment. We walk away and he started to tell me what happened after we split up. As the 2 drove away from the camper, our friend got out of the truck to open the gate. He told me that as he was waiting, he just happened to turn his head and saw antlers behind some bushes. That's when the thing stood up and my brother realized that it was the creature. Again, standing on its hind legs, and it smiled with fangs showing. He continued by saying that it didn't talk during this encounter, but he could somehow hear its thoughts. He claimed the creature was able to communicate telepathically, and he was told that our land is cursed and that our lives are in danger if we are not careful, because he would be hunting us and he will kill us the first opportunity he gets. Just by hearing my brother talk, you can hear the concern in his voice, as it really shook him up. We both decided to leave that night. We just told our friends that we were called in by work, and we had to show up due to an emergency. We would have used any excuse to leave at that point. It's been 3 years since this happened. We haven't seen the creature, but we still know it's around. We have lost multiple cattle throughout the years and they've all been killed in super strange ways. Like full-grown bulls hanging in trees or an entire carcass left behind without a drop of blood. We obviously still go to the ranch, but we're all well armed. Although I have a feeling a bullet wouldn't kill this creature anyway. We just don't feel comfortable in the mountains anymore. I know it sounds crazy, but there really are strange things out there. And thank you, Swamp Dweller, for sharing my story. I know it sounds a bit fantastic.
Thank you, Swampy, for another great story. If you want more just like that, or if you want to freak out about deer in the forest that get up and growl, head on over to Swamp Dweller's channel, Swamp Dweller. Hit subscribe, ring that bell, and you'll get thousands of stories just like that for you to listen to. From the swamp to the stars, it's time for the wizard, Josh Rutledge, and the UFO Report.
The UFO wizard makes his presence known.
All right, Wizard, it's always good to have you back, and I hope you're all ready for the Christmas holiday.
Yep, I am. I have a lot of wrapping left to do, but everything has been purchased, acquired, delivered. All of the stuff is available for us to do The wrapping, the bagging, the preparatory activities.
Who does the wrapping in your house?
My wife.
I do the wrapping in my house.
I mean, I despise wrapping. Now, hey, put something in a bag, I could do that all day long. I just do not like wrapping. I can never get the paper to cut correctly. It's all over the place, jagged. My scissors always get snagged. Like it's just, yeah. Put it in a
I'm a
bag.
terrible cutter, but I'm a good folder. I'm a good paper folder. So, yeah.
Wrapping paper is like fireworks. You're buying something that you're literally going to throw away.
Yes. It's so cool though. What is one gift that the wizard never ever wants to get?
Herpes? I don't know what.
I'll tell you my pet peeve at Christmas, and I've told my family this for years, and I tell them every year. I hate gift cards. Can't stand gift cards. Look, and I know I'm in the minority here with this, but hear me out for a second. There is nothing that says more that I don't like you, or I don't understand you, or I don't know who you are than a gift card. Now, I think it's different. Okay, like say for instance, there are caveats to this. So for instance, if somebody got me a gift card, okay, for a, let's say, I don't know, a hunting and fishing store, I would accept that. Right? But if somebody say got me a gift card for like, oh goodness, Costco, I'll be really upset. Really,
yeah, I mean,
really upset.
I don't really care. Because I think the thing is that most people want to feel like the person who's buying them a gift knows something about them, or they've taken the time to understand something about them, and so the gift that they are receiving is in some way reflective of the other person's understanding of the gift recipient. But at the end of the day, my my ego is not fragile, so that if you give me a gift card to Amazon, which is the most like nondescript place that you could possibly receive a gift card to, I think, I don't care. I'm still going to use it to buy something that I want. And then I'm going to tell you, hey, your gift card helped me buy X thing. And thank you for giving me the gift card, because I've wanted X thing for a long time, and your gift card helped me get it. So the person who gave the gift card, they got to feel like I got something that I can use and will use. And I actually got to get something that I will use. I'd rather get that than a package of socks.
Not me, man. I love a good pair of socks for Christmas. Love a good pair of socks. You get me socks, Dave's a happy guy.
Do we have SOR socks? We need SOR.
We do.
Socks.
There are SOR socks in the store. There really are. And they're good socks. I actually have a pair.
Oh, there you go.
They're like really comfy. You know what? My mom, God bless her soul, I miss her. She used to get us socks every year. And then one year, we were all opening presents at my parents' house, and my sisters and me and my brother-in-law were like, got socks. Well, my mom took it like an insult that we were just, because we were all laughing that we got socks, right? And so the following year, my mom didn't get us socks because she thought we were making fun of her. And we're like, Mom, where's the socks? She goes, well, last year you guys were all laughing and making fun that I got you all socks. So I didn't get any socks for you guys this year because, this isn't a joke. I want to make sure you have things you need. We're like, Mom, we love the socks.
Yeah.
Like, don't ever do this again. Right? Don't ever do this again. We love the socks. And so never missed out on socks after
So
that.
in loving memory, do you give your siblings and family members socks?
If I talk to my sisters, yes, I would give them socks. My dad still gives out socks.
Okay.
Yeah, dad still does that. And I make sure that my kids all have socks every year. That's kind of the, and let's face it, there's nothing better than putting on a brand new pair of socks.
I one of the things I love about Arizona is that I can pretty much go sockless all year long. I hate I will wear flip-flops in every month of the year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wear socks if I have to. If we're going to something where, I can't wear flip-flops, I'll wear socks if I have to. But if I do wear socks, they're like probably, decorative novelty socks. Like I got some Mothman socks that I got in Point Pleasant. I've got some Spock socks that have little pointy ears that stick out on the sides. I'm more of a novelty sock person if I have to wear socks.
Me too. I got a lot of alien socks, man. Like when we went out to Area 51 earlier this year, I think I bought 4 or 5 pairs of socks. Bigfoot socks. I've got like 5 pairs of Bigfoot socks.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I have 1 pair of Bigfoot socks where I only wear them twice a year, maybe 3 times, because one always goes missing. And I can never find it. Then I find it, I wear the pair, and then the one will go missing again. I've had that pair of socks for 4 years. I think I've maybe worn them like 7, 8 times because one always goes missing.
You think Bigfoot would wear Bigfoot socks?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah. But it's kind of hard to trunks around the forest with socks on. Nobody likes wet socks. Wet socks are the worst.
He would actually probably wear them out. You imagine him having a pair of woolly socks on, like lumberjack socks.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd like that.
You don't think so? Yeah,
No.
probably not.
No.
I don't think they make socks big enough for Bigfoot.
Well, they must, because Shaquille O'Neal has big feet.
That's true.
Yeah.
You think they're bigger than Bigfoot's feet?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
he's got what?
He
21
wears
inch
like
feet?
a size
He wears
17
like
or
size
18 shoe, something like that.
Oh, now I have to look.
Maybe it's even bigger than that. Maybe 26.
What size shoe does Shaq wear?
Like everybody who has a foot fetish is gonna love this last little bit of conversation.
This is enlightening right now.
Yeah.
Wears a size 22 shoe.
Wow.
Okay. Size 22, occasionally a 23. So yes, his feet would be bigger than Sasquatch's. Most of them.
Yeah.
And if you look at his size, what is he? 7'1"?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. He is Sasquatch size.
I remember I read an article or watched something one time where he bought like a Jeep Wrangler, and he had to have the front seat taken out. And
Yes.
he drove it from the back seat.
I've seen that one.
Yeah.
I've seen that one. 5 minutes to go. Let's get the UFO report kicked off here. What do you got for us?
So I got 3 big things. One I'll say for the second half hour. So this first one is October 27th of this year. This recording has resurfaced and all the major media have picked it up and run with it. But in Rhode Island, a pilot calls into the air traffic control about a stationary tin can object that they flew past while flying over Rhode Island. So he calls it in. He said it was rather extraordinary. It was just kind of sitting there like this cylindrical tin can type object, so obviously implying like some sort of a, silvery color. and the recording that you can listen to, it's on YouTube. The ATC controller laughs it off and says, "Good luck with the aliens." But like I said, it was in October 27th of this year, but media is just now picking it up and talking about it. I guess, from a sighting perspective, it kind of goes back to our conversation last week on Friday for the recap around the whole notion or idea of some sort of a metallic sphere grid around the planet, because this is just another one of those occurrences. And then I thought that was cool that, even though it might have been a joke or they were joking around, that the ATC just, they didn't just blow it off like they normally would have. And they kind of, joked back and said, "Good luck with the alien." There, a couple other flights chimed in and they said, they supported the one pilot and said, they'd like to believe him that, he is seeing something spectacular, but, it also could have just been, a cylinder shaped Mylar balloon. Who knows?
Or seagulls, according to Mick West.
Yeah, or seagulls.
Swamp gas?
It might have been swamp gas. Might have been a Mylar balloon filled with swamp gas. Very possible. All right, so I'm going to save the second one.
Yes.
And this next little piece is, you called it. There are huge buzz around the interwebs that Steven Spielberg's upcoming sci-fi film includes aliens or is some way linked to disclosure of alien tech.
I told you this was coming. I told you.
Yep, they're claiming either that he
would
somehow has access to the Pentagon, or was fed, was able to use real alien tech in the film, or that shape-shifting aliens are actually featured in the film as actors, I guess. But yeah, all those social media accounts of various people are picking up and either running with it and saying, "Yeah, this makes total sense," or using it as an opportunity to debunk. But because it's catchy and it's all in the topic in the news right now, a lot of these channels that are debunking these things or talking about them are blowing up. So I'm talking about it here on SOAR in hopes that it blows you up, Dave.
Look, this is going to make me pull my beard hair out. Okay. It really will. How foolish do we have to be as a community to allow a gentleman who we've been waiting 50 years for a sequel to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, or almost 50 years. Okay. We're finally getting it. And we're going to say that this is the big one that is going to make disclosure explode. That all of a sudden Steven Spielberg puts out another movie, and all of a sudden, Josh, we're going to have disclosure residue all over buildings in Manhattan, all over buildings in Chicago and downtown LA, Dallas, Seattle, Toronto, Vancouver, that it's going to be everywhere. That all of a sudden, with a flip of the switch, the government's going to be like, "Oh my God, Steven Spielberg just put out another movie. Oh, we have to disclose now. We have to disclose. They're going to know our secrets."
Yeah, I don't know. It's really mind-boggling. And like you said, the fact that so many people are giving this real credibility that it's somehow actually going to push the envelope. Like I said, I think it'll generate a lot of conversation between the uninitiated and the initiated, and that could be good for the topic of disclosure. But
that is good.
Yeah,
but we have to stop making mountains out of molehills in this community.
Yep,
it makes us look foolish, and this is why people still point the finger and laugh at us. And on that note, we'll continue the conversation with the wizard when we return on the UFO Report.
This is Spaced Out Radio. Your host, Dave Scott.
Sorry, that topic just pisses me off. It does.
It's all right. I knew it would. So, but it actually made it onto the Stephen Colbert's Late Show. They were talking about it on one of his segments called Meanwhile. I don't know if you watch him or not, but we watch him on YouTube, and it made it on there. So,
I don't get it. I don't get people. I really don't. Pisses me off. It does. I've got so much wrapping to do in the next 48 hours. I'm going to be up all night, literally on Christmas Eve, wrapping.
do you guys do Santa, and does your kid still believe, or?
Oh, yeah. Santa comes to my house every year. Every year.
My daughter was kind of throwing a big fit. She went into our closet, slammed the door, and the elf on the shelf fell out of its hiding place, which caused her to then ask the question, "Why is this in your closet?" Which led to a discovery that, you know, mom and pa are Santa every year. So, yeah. Now we still set up for Santa. We still keep the magic alive, but I think it's also like there's no illusion anymore. So,
I still get Santa gifts for my 26-year-old and my 22-year-old. And frankly, hi, Contrary One, how you doing? And frankly, I don't care.
yeah, I mean, I think there's nothing wrong with keeping the Christmas spirit alive, and if that Christmas spirit takes the form of Santa Claus, then so be it.
I look at it a little bit deeper than that. Certain things I take too far, and this is probably one of them. Okay, but I'll give you my excuse for it because I said it on Walter Sterling tonight. I dreamed of becoming a parent, wanted to become a dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been blessed with 2 of my own and a beautiful stepdaughter. And let me tell you, every year when I get to play Santa Claus for my kids, and like I said, my eldest is 26, my stepdaughter's 22, my boy is 12. But every year I get to play Santa Claus, I get to see them as kids again in my memory. And I don't ever want to let that go. So whether they choose to believe or not, that is completely up to them.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as I am breathing on this earth, my children will get gifts from Santa.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, they luck out because they get gifts from mom and dad and gifts from Santa. So.
Absolutely. And, I don't understand a lot of these new age parents out there that are like, oh, no, I would never lie to my kids. Santa Claus is such a big lie. Why would I want to lie to them? Then they're going to think I'm a liar. Enjoy the magic.
Mm.
Allow them to be children. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Allow your kids to be kids. You're not lying to them to hurt them. You're not lying to them and anybody who says that, I don't want to make it traumatic for my children, grow a pair of balls and start being a human being. Okay. I'm sorry.
I mean,
there is no child on this planet that has ever been, mentally diagnosed with PTSD because they found out Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny aren't real. Okay. It's bullshit. It really is bullshit. Pardon my language.
Well, you're right though. I mean, there's really, my daughter, one of my daughters still says occasionally, "I can't believe you lied to us for so many years," but she'll grow up to be a well-rounded adult. It's not going to like
Absolutely. Has
totally
nothing to
break
do with
her.
nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Here we go, buddy. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We are drawing closer to the start of Santa Claus putting the reins on his reindeer and starting to fly. I don't know about you, but I'm excited about it. 52 years old, and I still watch NORAD Santa on TV. Excited. I literally stay up until like 2 o'clock in the morning when Santa Claus finally leaves. I'm pumped up about it. I get pumped up every year about it. And I hope you do too. Enjoy the magic, people. Enjoy the magic. All right. Hey, we want to remind all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, our archives are free on YouTube or any major podcast network. You know the website. You've listened to us long enough. You hear me repeat it. spacedoutradio.com. We got a great swag there store for you. That didn't make any sense whatsoever. We have a great store there for you. Go check it out. Nothing's ugly. You can wear our stuff out in public. Website, you got it. Store, you got it. Social media, you don't got it yet because it's Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here's the wizard, Josh Rutledge. During the break, we were debating about Santa Claus. Just allow kids to be kids, man. Don't give them the reality break. Allow them to be kids. They got a lot of time to grow up. Just let them be kids. Let them enjoy Santa.
Yep.
That's fine.
And we also celebrate a little bit of Krampusnacht. I don't know if you do that or not.
I don't do that.
Krampusnacht was last week, I believe. Somebody asked me to explain Krampus, and I said, well, if Santa is the carrot to be nice, Krampus is the stick. So,
okay, all right. Let's get to it, man.
Yeah.
What do you have for us in the UFO report?
All right. So, big one I was saving for the second half because I think it's going to be a lot of conversation. We are coming up. December 26th marks the 45-year anniversary of the Littleton forest incident.
Nice.
So for those that don't know, this is December 26, 1980, Rendlesham Forest in the UK. A security patrol near the east gate of RAF Woodbridge saw lights apparently descending into nearby Rendlesham Forest, and went to investigate. And they first thought it was a downed aircraft, but upon entering the forest to investigate, they witnessed a glowing object that was metallic in appearance with colored lights. As they attempted to approach the object, it appeared to move through the trees, and the animals on a nearby farm went into a frenzy. One of the servicemen, Sergeant Jim Peniston, later claimed to have encountered a craft of unknown origin while in the forest. Shortly after 0400, local police were called to the scene, but reported that only lights they could see were those from the Orford Nest Lighthouse, some miles away on the coast. After daybreak on the morning of the 26th, servicemen returned to a small clearing near the eastern edge of the forest and found 3 small impressions on the ground, as well as burn marks and broken branches on nearby trees. At 10:30, local police were called out again, this time to see the impressions, which they thought could have been made by an animal. Georgina Bruni, in her book, You Can't Tell the People, published a photograph of the supposed landing site taken on the morning after the first sighting. So that's kind of the generalized case. We covered this, my co-host Stefan and I, on our podcast a couple of years ago. It's a pretty significant case, in my opinion. It's also in that when we covered it on the podcast, what was really interesting is that it turns out the U.S. was actually storing nuclear material on that base without the knowledge of the UK Ministry of Defense. So it also
Really?
could have been related to, kind of the UFO's interest in nuclear material as well.
What do you think that craft was?
I've heard several different potentials, that it could have been a probe, it could have been a time traveling craft. It actually could have been brought down for some reason. I don't know that I have one definitive kind of opinion on what I think it is. There's also a lot of controversy, I think, with Jim Penniston and some of his claims and some of his later claims about, his notebooks that he found with the, binary code written out in them and things like that. So there's just a lot of controversy, I would say, on the event and the subsequent details that came forward. If I were to believe Jim, which part of me wants to, in that binary code that was supposedly in that document or in that notebook, when it was decoded, it pointed to several locations around the globe as being, key locations. One of them was in Sedona. I think one of them was in Egypt. But one of them was off the coast of the UK, in the Atlantic. I did not know of this when I did a meditation one time. And in a meditation, I dove down into the water off the coast of the UK. This is around the time I was investigating the Wales events. And I phased through the ocean floor and into an alien base. And then a year later, watched a documentary that talked about the decoding of the notebook. And the location that was identified in that documentary was exactly the location that I phased into during my meditation. So that part of me wants to believe Jim and the details that he later uncovered. But I don't know. It's just a really tricky case. I think that there probably was something there. I don't think the lighthouse is a plausible explanation, and I don't think the animal making the proposed kind of landing marks on site is a valuable explanation. A valuable explanation, excuse me. So I think something did land there. I just don't know what it is, and part of me is reluctant to believe all of Jim's details.
I often wonder if that's a TR-3B that landed.
They're often, but TR-3Bs are usually described as being rather large, and if you listen to Jim's accounts, it was like the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. So that's not a very big craft.
No, you're very right. You're very right. But I guess I look at it like this is one of the stories I want to believe is true.
Mm-hmm.
I think these types of close encounters, if we had more hearings, like Courtney Marcassani on the UFO report was talking about, or not, on the UFO roundtable was talking about how she believes there's more hearings coming in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
This is the kind of report, because it does involve American military. This is the type of report that needs to come out in those hearings. Let's break it down.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's break it down, because you would have evidence. If it happened, you would have evidence.
Well, you've got the other thing about this case that is unlike many others is that you have Halt, who is one of the officers, I think, on the base. Um, he took his personal, audio recorder along for part of the investigation and recorded what he was, observing. And we've got those original audio tapes, or somebody does. They've been, downloaded and uploaded various places over the years. But um, so it's a very, well documented case by a seemingly credible witness.
Agreed.
So the one thing I was going to ask you is about this case. One of the things that Jim Peniston talks about is all of the what he calls funny hieroglyphs that were all over the craft. That's not the first time that we've heard about funny I can't say it now. Funny marks on UFO craft. We also hear about it, and Zamora case in New Mexico, things like that. We talked about it last week, even with like the Bugosphere. Is it possible that there would be some benefit to having, markings on the outside of a UFO craft? We often think about why would occupants, if they are from, outside of our solar system, or at least outside of our planet, why would they have such markings? I think this is why people who ascribe to the time traveling, explanation for a lot of
Right.
UFO craft will use this as a reason why it's probably, time travelers. But if there's the other possibility is that all of our language is based on a much older language that is not native to the earth. And so therefore there may be language elsewhere in the universe, galaxy, universe, whatever, that is derived from that much older language that is similar to our languages here on earth. And so therefore would provide a potential explanation aside from time travel. What are your thoughts there?
Oh, goodness. I definitely like the time travel aspect, but I think, in my opinion, and my opinion only, maybe I'm being way too narrow minded on this, Josh. I think there's a big difference between what I think is time travel and alien travel.
Hmm.
I don't conceptualize, and I never get to use that word, conceptualize, that they are intertwined, that aliens coming from outer space are time travelers, even though technically they are. Okay. But I don't take it that way. I think of a time traveler as somebody, like you see in Hollywood, stepping through, a portal of some sort that opens up in a different time space continuum. Now, I'm not saying a DeLorean.
Yeah.
Nor am I saying Austin Powers, where you get spun around, and next thing you know, you're in 1965 or 69, whenever the free love was. I'm not saying that. But to me, it's almost like, I'll tell you the story I do believe. Let me go off on an example here.
Okay.
A lot of people will not believe this person, but I think the way Andrew Bashago explains it as a child chrononaut, where you kind of you stand in this triangular type of thing, and it kind of just zaps you off into a different place immediately. That's the way I kind of look at how it would work. Like, that makes sense in my extremely non-scientific brain. But I don't know. I don't know if I answered your question properly or not.
That's all right. I guess I would so on about the time travel piece real quickly. I'll say that I think that there are different ways of thinking about time travel. Like, there's physically leaving the future and traveling physically to the past. There's also the whole idea of consciousness projection, where you're projecting your future consciousness back to a past body, which you then inhabit for some
Yes.
period of time to interact. That's kind of like the quantum leap, right? Is very much like a consciousness projection, time travel type situation.
Right.
There was another show that was a couple of years ago. It was pretty good like that too. Um, and then the whole concept of aliens being time travel, that you're right, if they are actually traveling across vast distances, they would have had to leave, left their place of origin hundreds of thousands or millions of years ago to reach us here in this moment here, unless they travel through the bulk, which is referenced in the movie Interstellar. But if they travel through the bulk, then they left potentially in our future and arrived here now, or no time has passed between their departure and arrival. So I think that, just generally when it comes to time travel, I think people are, they don't, I think because they think about time erroneously and space time erroneously, it's hard for them to contemplate what time travel would actually potentially be. So, but on to my previous question, I think that there probably is some benefit to including some sort of markings on physical craft, manufacturer's mark, or to be some sort of a method of engagement with us, the layperson, so to speak, when we encounter craft that push against the boundaries of what we've been willing to consider up until that point.
I just want to see George Jetson. Not
Like-
George Jetson in our chat room. Okay. But I want to see that whole lifestyle, man. Where we're flying around. Like, we should be there by now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Part of that scares me though, because I think the only way that we would ever have flying cars and be successful is if they were, automated control. People can barely drive cars on the road and not get into accidents and hit things, like drive off of curbs because they're texting and plow into the living room of somebody's house. You take that and now they have to pay attention to pitch and yaw and all this other kind of stuff. Like nobody's going to be able to. We're going to have wrecks all over the place. So the only way it works is if it's automated.
Just wait. It's coming. I'm still too scared to get into a cab that doesn't have a driver.
Well, off topic, but a Waymo just drove through an active crime scene like 2 weeks ago. So, we haven't even perfected the automated part yet either. So, yeah, I don't know. I would like to see. I think as the population continues to grow, and there's no indication that it's going to slow down, that we're going to get to the point where we have to make use of our vertical space. And that's one thing the Jetsons had going for them, right? Is they had cities in the sky. Right. And so we got to, I'm still waiting for the space elevator of how we can get to and from the surface of the earth to space without taking a rocket and propelling it through the atmosphere to get 5 people at max into space. Where's the space elevator that rides the maglev up and down? We have the technology right now to build that. Like, we are technologically at a point where we could build a maglev space elevator.
Right.
Why don't we build that? Come on, Elon, you can put that into orbit.
I would agree with you. I would totally agree with you on that. And I want to see it happen. I want Elon to make it happen. Maybe that's what he's trying to build up on Mars.
Maybe.
I don't know.
What about Under the Sea? One of my favorite shows of all time when I was younger, Sequest. Did y'all have Sequest in Canada?
We did. Guess who didn't watch it?
Why not? They had a talking dolphin, man. Come on.
Buddy, there's great whites out there. Not going under the ocean. Not doing it.
You're in a submarine.
Doesn't matter.
But no, I mean, I think you think about the abyss, right? I mean, maybe that's where all these aliens are hiding and they're waiting for us to come join them under the sea.
I only want the flying ones. I'll take my chances there.
Flying sharks? That sounds horrible.
No, I don't want flying sharks. No, no. Flying sharks.
Sharknado?
Dude, I will tell you this. Have you ever held a megalodon tooth?
No.
They're heavy.
I imagine they are.
They are heavy. That's what I got my son for Christmas.
That's what you told me.
That's his big financial gift this year, a megalodon tooth. Couldn't believe how heavy it is. You imagine, all I could think about, the tooth is just over 4 inches long. You imagine the size jaw that thing had?
Is that the one where they have it's like a national, I think it's the Natural History Museum in New York. They have a photograph you can stand.
Yes.
And it's open, like in its mouth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Scares me. Absolutely scares me. But it's kind of cool that you're holding something that's like 60 million years old.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Josh, tell everybody where they can find your podcast and your information.
Yep. You can find all of my stuff on my website, ourmysticjourneys.com. That's OUR mysticjourneys.com. The name of my YouTube channel is Mystic Journeys 44. And you can find the Shadow Signal podcast on all your podcast networks or on Another Realm Media on YouTube. So
you're one of the best there, Wizard, as we say goodnight to Josh. And hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar, God himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Good job, Wizard.
oh man, good conversation.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Put you on the spot a little bit with the writing on the ship. Apologize if that was.
You know what? And I'm going to apologize for not answering that. I have been real brain foggy today. I didn't sleep well last night. And all day, like, I have just been like, what the fuck did he say? Right? You know, all day. So I apologize about that. Literally had brain fog today all day.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah. I need to start taking some more vitamins and iron and stuff. Eating better.
Well, I'm gonna go. You have a good holiday.
Yeah.
For the next couple of days. I guess you got one more show, I think.
One more show, and then I'm taking a break for 3 days, which will help. But I'm going to call you over the break. Got some things to bounce off you, and kind of go from there.
Sounds like a plan, man.
All right, brother. You take care. Merry
See ya.
Christmas to you.
Yep, you too.
All right. The Wizard, everybody. He deserves a few claps. As for the rest of you, tomorrow night on the show, Bigfoot Michigan Rob will be here. Bigfoot stories of 2025. We're going to get into them. We're going to have some fun with him. And I want to say a big thank you tonight to Jeff, Cat Chaser, Deborah Rooney ×2, Kmart, Blue Skies, Kitty Caddywhack, Donna, and Belief Podcast for the super chats. Thank you very much for the love. We'll see you tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. Don't forget to tell everybody, come on out. Tell a friend. That's all we ask. Take care, everybody. Don't forget after the show, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think. Take care.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.